Hey, the band's muted. We got to turn the band on. They're on mute.
I thought it was me. I thought it was me.
No, yeah, that's right. Hit the mute button. You got to unmute yourself, Paul. Look at this. The first 4 at 4. We're starting with a muted start. Let's do this. All right. 4 at 4.
Thank you, Paul Piazza. That was appropriately titled the Quarantine Jam number 5. And Paul Piazza was joined by Everett Kelly and Stephen Nutt with the Hamlin House Bridge Brigade. Hello everyone, and this is welcome to 4 at 4 Forums. This is our summer sorority series, and today we're pleased to welcome Paul and the Hamlin House Brass Brigade, as well as our featured guests, Tim Hagel and Tom Geist. Our first question goes to Tim Hagel, who many people around the community will know as the former sheriff at Thousand Oaks Police Chief. How are you doing, Tim?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
So how are you doing with all the craziness going on? What's going on in your end?
Well, it's pretty interesting to see what has occurred to Safe Passage starting March 7th. We would have never realized that we would turn from a anti-gang mentoring leadership program for 124 kids to serving upwards of 600 kids 7 days a week because of COVID. So it has been a whirlwind, to say the least.
And for people unfamiliar with the Safe Passage program, tell us a little bit what that's all about.
Yeah, so Safe Passage is a premise that spawned out of inputs in 2014. As chief of police, I started noticing our gang concentrations in micro communities throughout the Conejo Valley. And we really started studying it and taking a look at what was going on, the paradigm of community policing and law enforcement, and who would have thought in today's world We hear all of these talks about community policing. Safe Passage was spawned out of that in 2014 to provide a safe place where children kindergarten through 6th grade can come every day in their micro community free of charge and be safe from all of the aspects of crime, and offer them a safe passage, getting their homework done, feeding them meals, teaching them STEM, and reducing that marginalization that they feel living in micro communities. And so we started up a few days a week. Our lead partner is the Conejo Recreation and Park District and Conejo Valley Unified School District and the police department, sheriff's department. It's expanded now crazy to Cal Lutheran University, Moore Park College, Thousand Oaks City, Art Trek, and starting here in about a month and a half, AmeriCorps, which is the equivalent of Peace Corps in the United States, and AmeriCorps is becoming a Safe Passage partner starting in a month also.
That's big news. How have things changed, or have they changed with the Safe Passage program, considering when it was launched and things that are going on right now?
Are you talking about with COVID or just the transpiration of the last 6 years?
I'm curious about COVID and how it's doing currently. I mean, it sounds like a remarkable program that makes a great difference. I'm wondering how you adjusted during this time to continue to provide it.
As I tell everybody, imagine tutoring and mentoring 124 kids a day, 6 days a week after school, with police officers, park district youth leaders, retired school teachers. That's what we did. And that has an incredible effect, has reduced the Thousand Oaks gangs single-handedly by 44% in the Conejo Valley. First time in the 40-year history of gangs that the gang populations have gone down, and it's because of Safe Passage. Then in February, COVID really strikes the United States, and we realized that the school shuts down the second week of March. All of the children that Safe Passage serves, they need help just getting by day to day. Many are 1 grade behind on math and English in these critical years in 3rd and 4th grade. So they needed that one-on-one mentoring and tutoring to continue just to survive, let alone to go do this new adjective that we've learned called Zooming. So anyway, overnight, the school district closed, and we realized, wow, how are we going to get technology in the hands of the kids? How are they going to do their homework? So we mobilized Safe Passage immediately, issued out hundreds and hundreds of Chromebooks from Safe Passage, and crawled through people's apartments and condos, wiring them up with Wi-Fi hotspots that people in the community had donated funds for Safe Passage to get these households wired up. Over 70% of the children we were serving didn't have this thing called internet in their house before COVID. And suddenly they need to be on it every day. Many, many didn't have cell phones. So, in the spirit of swerving and jinking and janking, we turned from an after-school anti-gang mentoring program to what I would call a full relief program for children and their mothers. And I'll give you the quick stats is that at the height, we were serving around just under 6,000 meals per week to children and their mothers. And now we're currently serving, slowed down a bit, we're serving about 4,000 meals per week. We've issued out 21,000 diapers to the families of the Safe Passage kids. And that sounds kind of crazy, diapers, right? But anybody that's been in a store during March, April, or May, let me know how that worked out for you to try to find diapers and then the prices of them. So every week we provide child nutrition for infant formula diapers, baby wipes, tens of thousands of disposable gloves. We've given out thousands and thousands of face masks. So every day we provide the needs for over 400 families in the Conejo Valley, and they get a week's worth of groceries, breakfast and lunch for their child each day. I can tell you everything you want to know about diapers. Forever, I'd be able to tell you anything you want to know about bullets and gunpowder and ballistics. Do you know what the most common size diaper is in the Conejo Valley? Because I do.
I have no idea. What is it?
It's a 5. Come on.
What?
It's a 5 is the most common diaper. Everybody should know. It goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I know that now. So that's what we're doing every day. We are giving these families help. We're issuing micro grants on bi-weekly basis. So we give a $50 micro grant if one or more of the parents have been laid off due to COVID, and if they have a child. It's $50. And you say, what's $50? Well, that's an electric bill, potentially a cellular bill, a portion of their car payment. So we're all over the map right now. We're partnered with the Red Cross every day, has jumped in with us. And we just do just shy of 11,000 pounds of groceries per week, free of charge to all the families, plus the 4,000 meals for the children each week. So, but we're anxious for COVID to be over and get back 100% into mentoring.
Sure. That's remarkable. I'm going through my head just the massive amounts of donations and diapers and everything else you're providing. So are those donations from the community? Can people donate to your cause? If somebody wants to help you out or support this program, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, that's a great question. I can take a cheap shot at bolstering up Safe Passage. Yeah. So Safe Passage Youth Foundation is a nonprofit, Conejo Valley organic grassroots nonprofit. We provide services, as I said, to all of these partners, the Park District, the Police Department, Moorpark College, Celia, to the children. So we rely on all of our partners and donations coming from the public. The Ventura County Community Foundation has been incredible assisting us. The Gene Haas Foundation, Ken Rose Foundation, and some other foundations. And it's a machine to keep going, right? We never experienced that. Let me put it this way. We spend more per week on food to the children. We spend about $2,000 per week on food. And that's more than we'd spend on a field trip to take 150 kids to the Science Museum, right? So our organization is safepassageyouth.org. And right online there, they can see what we're doing, the metrics, how they can help, whether it's volunteering, whether it's providing money. We actually have a pantry where you can order food online for the children. And you just go through our pantry and you're like, I want to buy Melissa or Johnny a bunch of bananas. And we go buy the bananas on your behalf, and fruit and lunch, that stuff. And so we're happy to do that.
Wow. So is this entirely run by volunteers? I assume yes.
Yes. So 100%,
well?
100%, yeah, 100% volunteers. Every single dollar that is donated, every penny goes straight in the hands of services to the children. So as you think of overhead for most nonprofits, 10 to 25%. Our overhead is zero. It's paid by our volunteers, actually pay the money for insurance and taxes and overhead and all that kind of stuff. So every dollar that someone helps out makes a difference. I would be remiss without saying that we could not have done this with Los Robles Hospital. Los Robles Hospital has given us access for food supplies for the children and has really carried us through some of these times. So we're going to go full steam ahead until school starts again at the end of August, and who knows what's going on then, right?
Sure. And it's so nice to hear this wonderful good news. You've been doing it for a few years now, especially now people are, I think, craving positive stories and positive efforts. And something I have noticed in COVID is just the amount of people that have stepped up to help each other out. And this is a really beautiful example of that. So thank you so much for bringing this to communities. I'm wondering, this sounds like a model program that are you looking, how far do you look or hope to expand this?
Serving the Conejo Valley for the micro communities. If someone goes to our website, they can see the genesis is 36 years as a police officer. I realized in 2014 that we were doing it all wrong. We were focusing on apprehension of 16-year-old boys that were gang members. But by then it was too late. So we did a study and we found it out that most of the children were being groomed in about third grade, predispositions and desensitized. So we really concentrate on that safety zone of the first 4,000 days of a child's life. And as a police officer, it's so imperative It's the genesis of community policing. You know, back 2 months ago, with all of the unrest in our country and anxiety in the country, I saw all these politicians in Los Angeles say, we're going to teach our officers community policing. We're going to cut the budget and teach them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Thousand Oaks has been doing this forever. You know, these children in these communities, these 600 kids in the communities, they know their police officers by their first name because they're teaching them math and reading. It's one thing to chase gang members down an alley at night. That's kind of scary. I'll tell you what's scarier is a police officer teaching a third grader math. That's scary.
Wow. Well, this is just such a light in a time of seemingly darkness. So I appreciate everything you're bringing, and thank you for being on the show and taking your time.
We're so happy, and we're happy to be here with everybody. And I love the music too. You can't beat that.
Oh, it's fantastic, and fantastic segue, because now we're going to go back to Piazza and the Hamlin House Brass Brigade for a little musical break before we chat with our next guest, Todd Geist of Geist Interactive.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming on into our first of our Thursday 4 at 4. How many times do we say at 4? A lot of times. But so right behind me, we've got Everett Kelly. He was the composer of the last piece, great trumpet player. And over here, we've also got Stephen Nutt, our tubist. I'm Paul Piazza. I wrote the next tune. And we made up the name last night because we all are professional musicians. We do happen to have a house together on Hamlin Street. So we decided to figure out a name at the last minute and make some music for everybody. So glad to be here. We're going to play Quarantine Jam a la Mode, which is a tune I wrote a couple weeks ago. So it should be kind of fun. All right, here we go.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks for having us. Hey, featuring again Everett Kelly on the trumpet over here. Great soloing. And we'll see you at the end of the show.
Thank you very much. Well, we are back to Welcome to 4 at 4, and we have a wonderful guest to chat with us next. This is Todd Geist. He's the CEO of Geist Interactive.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks.
So I would love to know, first of all, for people that have unfamiliar with Geist Interactive, what is the company about? What is it that you do?
Yeah, it's unlikely that anybody, most people probably have never heard of it. We're a small software development firm headquartered here, but we do have offices. We do have people in several time zones around the country. And so we do software development. We do custom integrations for business. Anything that can kind of make a business run in a more automated and a more intelligent way. That's the kind of stuff that we do. I have had this idea for quite some time now around how to link business back directly with the community. So my wife and I founded a nonprofit learning center called One Spark Academy it's 10 years ago now. And the idea we had there was, rather than wait until I made millions of dollars in the software industry and then, funded a bunch of nonprofits or did it that way, we just thought we would do it kind of at the same time. So part of our mission and part of our operating costs go towards funding the school. And so that's kind of something we just always wanted to do, was somehow try to create a connection between business and the local community and make the two fit together. And, now with the current situation going on, our local communities are just becoming more and more important. I think we all feel that. We all want connection now that we didn't know maybe we were missing. But now that we're locked in our homes, we kind of all crave that. I know I do. So that's kind of the mission of Geist Interactive, is to help small business reach its goals through automation, through integration, through custom software, and then to try to bring some of the gains that we get from that back to our local communities.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. I'm really curious how it's been impacted by this pandemic, how you guys are doing.
Yeah, to some degree, I would say that we're not yet very affected in terms of our business. I mean, we already were virtual, so I sit in meetings like this all day long. This is how I've conducted my business for years. All of our people are very familiar with being on video and talking to our clients that way. We don't travel to see our clients. It just hasn't been necessary for a number of years in the tech industry. So we're quite used to that. We closed down the offices we had. It just didn't make any sense. We were capable of working from home, and it didn't impact our productivity at all to have offices. So there really wasn't an impact in terms of our day-to-day operations, in terms of the people that we have and how we work. So we just kind of, business as usual. We did have some clients who pulled back right when things started to get a little crazy. And so, business has definitely been impacted to some degree, but not that bad. We have a very wide customer base. We have customers around the world. So we're insulated from really local shocks or anything like that, or specific industries, because we have customers in lots of different industries. So we're still going along. Certainly, we're not growing like we would like to be growing, but we're still business as usual, still helping people. I do expect that things will, depending on how long this goes on, that it might get tighter. But for right now, we're still cruising.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
To know. And speaking of everything that's going on, and it's a serious time, it can be a heavy time for a lot of people. I'm curious, just you have clients all over the world, and getting to see them and chat with them, I'm sure, about COVID, it comes up. And I'm wondering how you think about the effects of the pandemic on our local community, outside of the obvious and severe personal pain and suffering.
Yeah, I think, it's one thing I'm trying to get out of it is the prediction game, because obviously, you just don't see something like this coming. And so it's one of the things that's kind of taught me personally is just to be careful, how much stake I put in my long range plans, because you just don't know. And it's, one thing I think we can kind of say is these shocks are going to continue, whether it's a pandemic or some other crisis. I mean, this is now the second crisis we've had in, the last 10 or 15 years. And we had, 9/11 before that. So really it's there, these kind of things are increasing. But one of the things that, one of the ways the model that I use, or the metaphor that I use to look at what's happening in the community, and also in the broader, in the world and in the country, is one of the things I try to do is, there's obviously all kinds of pain and suffering going on, and I don't want to downplay that at all, but I need to look for something, not necessarily positive, but just something to kind of shoot for and aim for and to reach for. And one of the things that I'm kind of using as a way to think about this is what we're seeing is kind of an accelerator or a speed up of time and of trends that were going on before this whole thing started. And this isn't my idea. First person I heard talk about it was a professor from NYU named Scott Galloway. You can find him on Twitter. He's a really interesting guy. And he talked about it in terms of an accelerator. So trends that would have taken 10 years are now going to take a year, because just everything gets sped up under these conditions. Because, when businesses or industries are maybe not doing so well, but the economy is doing well enough that they can keep skating along, when a shock like this comes along, they just get wiped out. And, we started to see some trends like retail obviously has been under attack for quite some time, but also commercial office space. And these kinds of trends have been kind of sort of obvious to as people, give up their offices and move home. And then the most obvious thing that happens when COVID hits is all these businesses who were fighting against being online, being virtual, just, within a week they went virtual. And suddenly they realized that, gosh, I don't know that we need all these. I don't know that we really need an office anymore. Like the school that I mentioned, OneSpark, we had no online classes prior to COVID. Now every single class is on online, and it moved online over the weekend, right? So these kind of things have a way of just, there was a hesitancy to be virtual, there's a hesitancy to be on video, and then overnight, suddenly everybody is very familiar with being in Zooms, and it opens up a bunch of new opportunities in that space. Now, obviously, we all want to get back together. We all want to be able to be together. Even, nerdy engineers like me who normally love to sit alone and just program all day. I mean, even I want to get out and go to some of John's parties, So, but that's what's happening, right? It's like this trend of commercial real estate and retail real estate, which was already downtrending, is just getting hit even harder. So that means there's knock-on effects, right? There's things that, the people who own those buildings end up having problems. The people who clean those buildings have the problems. All the different industries that are tied into real estate end up getting hit. And, if that happens over 10 years, we have time to adjust. But unfortunately, it's going to happen in a much shorter amount of time. So people are going to be under a lot of stress there. But hopefully there's opportunities here too. Some of these industries and some of these, some things, like there's a lot less air pollution now because people aren't commuting, right? So that there are positive impacts of things like this. So I try to look for those. I try to look for ways to take advantage of this acceleration and just kind of lean into the direction that we're headed.
Oh, well, and Barry, you mentioned the OneSpark Academy.
Yeah.
And, of course, everything is online now. So as somebody who runs an alternative education program, are you seeing anything there? I know you adjusted very quickly, improvised. So how are things going on with OneSpark Academy? And is there anything the community can do to help or support that?
Yeah, I mean, we are a nonprofit, so you can go to our website, onesparkacademy.org, and you can donate there if you'd like. We also do fundraisers and things like that. And so we are commonly doing those sorts of things. What's happening to OneSpark, we were, again, sort of already were an alternative education program. It was just to, what we ought to do is have my wife on, who's the executive director, at some point on this to really get into details about about the educational program. I can tell you a little bit about the structure and sort of what's happening in terms of the economics. But One Spark it's always been alternative, and it's basically been for homeschool or middle school age kids who need a smaller class size. I mean, it's basically a very simple way of saying it. They want something, they need something more personal, more relationship driven. They need, 10, 12 kids in a class, not 30. And so that's what One Spark has always been, and it's been that way for 10 years. It operates when it's on site out of the Thousand Oaks Teen Center. It's a great facility there. We were really lucky to form a partnership with them to be able to use that facility during the day, during the school year when it was empty. So there was that facility was not being used or being used lightly until about 2:30 when it opens up for the kids to come after school. So that's where we've been. But we've been working out of there for 10 years, and the program has always been very alternative in terms of the way the classes are taught, the curriculum that's taught. We cover all of the core courses, but we also do all kinds of interesting things like bird watching and Shakespeare, and we have we partner with local businesses, Dayland Swim Club, and other places to do lots of interesting classes. So when something like this comes along, One Spark, again, we're getting a lot of interest in people saying, they're looking for other ways to try to get some help for their kids. It's hard to get kids to sit in front of especially middle school or even younger. It's hard to get kids to sit in front of a Zoom screen for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So we're trying to do some different things. We even do the health class, or we even do gym online. So we try to get the kids up and moving around. We do some outdoor activities. So there's a summer school program going on right now. They have a hiking club where to stay socially distances, they wear masks. And so we also have a garden that we're doing. So trying to move the focus to things that we can do outdoors, where you're much safer, and then trying to and then do things online whenever we can't meet locally. Now, we've tried to plan lots of what's going to happen in the fall, and we've done lots of planning about it. But frankly, we don't know what it's going to be like. I mean, the state just shut down again a couple of days ago. It's hard to know what it's going to be like in the fall exactly. But if they allow us to be on site at the teen center, we'll have some classes at the teen center, and we'll have some classes online. And if not, we'll do it online, and we'll do outdoor things just as much as we can. We have a very, very, very low tolerance for risk. So in terms of health, we're not going to do anything unless we are convinced that it is safe for the kids. So we're following all of the state and local guidelines when it comes to recommendations on wearing masks, number of kids in rooms, that kind of thing. We're doing all that. So it's again another one of these things where education was already trying to have to undergo a bunch of different changes, and it the other kind of personal connection I have is my brother is an assistant superintendent for a school on the East Coast, and he's responsible for the classrooms, and the amount of just scrambling they're having to do to get ready for this is pretty extreme. I mean, the schools are going to need a lot of our help and a lot of our understanding, whether public schools, private schools, or alternative schools like ours. It's going to be very, very stressful for the schools and very stressful for the parents. Parents really need to have their kids go to school. That's not just for just to get some peace, but also because many of them have to go to work. And so now maybe they're working at home, but now they have to work at home with kids. I mean, this is going to be a big challenge. And again, it's going to be a lot of uncomfortableness, a lot of anxiety, of anger, coming up in the community. Our goal with One Spark is to serve as many kids as we can, which frankly isn't a lot. We don't have a tremendous amount of room, but also to be a resource for maybe different ideas that other people to sort of give back to the public schools. Like, these are things that we can do, and these are things that we think will work within the safety guidelines that we have. So we're trying to look at this as an opportunity. even though it's obviously going to be a lot of anxiety and lots of uncomfortableness, hopefully, the best that we can hope to come out of this is that this shakes some things up, and we can actually get some change, some much needed change in all this stuff. So,
sure. Well, yes, and it's going to be interesting, how this all shakes out, the trickle down effect, because it's affecting everybody, and just how we're all able to manage our emotions, which goes across the board. I am curious, you've been dealing with children, if you're helping with any kids with anxiety problems, or if they're even expressing it to you guys or somebody at One Spark Academy, and just how, if there's any, I don't know, words of advice or hope. I mean, we're all trying to figure this out as we go, but I imagine the kids are suffering. They might not express it, but they are.
Some are, and some are doing fine. Kids, some of them are super adaptable. Again, we should schedule my wife on here. She could give lots of great examples on specifics, but I do overhear a lot of the conversations, and there are kids that are suffering. One of the things that are having difficulty, they just miss their friends. They just want to be with their friends, and they're not able to do that, and that alone can be hard for the extroverts, at least. But one of the things that we do at One Spark, and one of the things that I think is just sort of just a general thing. One of our core beliefs in the whole organization is that education is really relationship driven. So and that's one of the dangers. One of the things that I worry about in terms of where things might go, because the technology has a way of separating people instead of bringing them together. And education just works better when the students and the kids and the teachers and even the parents all have a good, trusting relationship. Right? That's where the magic really happens. When kids who are maybe struggling, when they find a teacher who really gets them, then school goes from being something that is barely tolerable to something that they can look forward to going to. And so we've always focused on that side of the equation. One of the things we do is they call it circle, and that is where the kids, there's really no agenda necessarily. The kids get together, and when they're on site, they meet in a circle, and they have an opportunity to share the things that are going on in their life, whether positive or negative, and they focus on both the positive and the negative. And that really helps. We all crave social interaction, and when everything is just jammed into a classroom studying for a test, sometimes the teachers don't have a chance to really create those relationships with the kids, even though they might want to. They might have 100 kids if they're moving kids in and out of their classes. They might have 100 plus kids they have to maintain a relationship with. That's hard. So our focus has always been smaller and making sure that the kids have an opportunity to form relationships, not just with their peers, but with their teachers. And so we do a lot of that stuff. That's why a lot of the things like online, we're doing the online circle. So we still meet with the kids, and the teachers get together, and there's no test, there's no curriculum, there's no grades. It's just, hey, how is it going? And sometimes, kids will, they'll do breakout rooms, and they'll get into a room with just their favorite teacher and just really, talk about what's going on. And I think that's important. So I hope that, whether it's public ed or private schools or other alternative educational programs, that they look for ways to increase the opportunities for creating these relationships, rather than go into the natural technology thing, which is to put this screen between us and to send them text messages and emails with their homework assignments. That's not going to work as well as if we can create, something a lot more meaningful.
I love the idea of a circle. If you have an adult version of that, let me know, because I think that would just be very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for your heartfelt responses, and just some words of uplifting words to help some of us get through it, because they're all handling it in a different way. And I love you and Lori, in the One Spark Academy, just moving forward and bringing positivity to the world. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I would love to bring Tim Hagel back. I wanted to ask him one last question before we go back to our musical guests.
Sure, I'm here. And
Nice.
what an incredible story with One Spark. Seriously, I have goosebumps.
Brings tears to your eyes. It's,
Yeah.
and that it happened right in our own backyard. I mean, that's really cool to know. And as well as what you're doing, but you being who you are, and a lot of people know and love you for the position you held in our community and for so long. I'm wondering what words can you offer our community right now? There's some people that are doing okay and some that are really not, and some who are very isolated. And I'm wondering what words you can give to maybe help us through this event. I know that's a good question.
Yeah, that's so broad, right? You know, working out in the field with Safe Passage is, I'm out there every single day interfacing with families that are struggling. Many of these families prior to COVID, for example, that Safe Passage served, just over about 100 families prior to COVID. The unemployment rate was like 2%, 1%. Once it struck, these are service worker families, hardworking, agriculture, restaurants, service, all of that. And it was pushing up hard into the 30%, 40% in our straw polls, talking to the moms, helping them out. And so what I like to say is that everyone is struggling in one way or another. As he was talking about the virtual classes online for what the challenge that the kids are having, you can imagine the pressure that our school superintendent, I don't know the number, let's say 18,000 students, that the school superintendent is under to get those kids back into class. And no matter what decision that board or the school district makes, a lot of people are going to be unhappy. But what makes me proud of the Conejo Valley and the people in the community, every single time a disaster comes, look in the past, whether it was wildfires, borderline, earthquakes, all of these, now it's COVID. I call it the Conejo way. You just see everybody pull together in the community. I can't tell you how many people make calls. For example, out of the 4,000 meals we serve the kids, every Saturday, we like to serve a hot meal. And, that's what you do with your family, right? And so restaurants have stepped up in the Conejo Valley, and you name it, all of the restaurants around the Conejo Valley come deliver 400, 800 meals to us free of charge. And here's those restaurants that are struggling. So I guess what I would say is, it's not only pay it forward to help one another in the community. Everyone is feeling the stress and the anxiety. And all we can do is we have to pull together. And whatever it is, listening to the story of One Spark and the circle and this alternative way to get to kids that might be marginalized, all of these roads lead back to what he's been talking about and what I've been talking about. Is our ultimate goal is to keep our families safe, keep our communities safe, because these children that are feeling marginalized out there because of online classes or access to their friends. I mean, for some of us, anybody here that's over 20 years old can't even comprehend that you just have no access to your friend, and there you are, a young youth. So I would just say, pull together. In a world where you can be kind to one another. Just be kind to one another. That's my ending thoughts.
That's beautiful. Oh, what a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for that helpful response. And now we're going to go back to our beautiful musical guest, Piazza, and the Hamlin House Brass Brigade.
We've got one more tune for everybody. This is Stella by Starlight. Thanks so much for joining on in. symphonic theme, that Stella by starlight, and not a dream. My heart and I agree, she's everything on this earth to me. The song robin sings, that sings free through endless springs. The pebble at evening time, that gathers in a nook where two lovers hide. A great symphonic theme, that's Stella by starlight, and not a dream. My heart and I agree, she's everything on this earth to me. She's everything on this earth to me. Oh, she's everything on this earth to me. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Hamlin House Brass Brigade, Everett Kelly on trumpet, Stephen Nutt on tuba, Paul Piazza, some trumpets, some keys, and some singing. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And as Tim Hagel said, in a world where you can be kind, be kind.
That's right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for
Great
your
job.
time.